Hey guys, how is it going? So it's one of those beautiful days. Today I'm actually going to do a quick review of the Mamiya 645 1000S camera. So I got this camera as a gift from a friend. I initially wasn't working it has some issues, but I was able to get it fixed, and I've actually taken photos with it, and I love this camera. I simply love this camera. I cannot tell you enough. And here's a little bit about my history, and if you haven't watched my other videos. So I primarily shoot 35mm film. I have a whole bunch of film cameras in my collection, and you can watch my other videos to check them out. I'm very much comfortable shooting 35mm film, and recently I just made the switch to 120. I had a not so pleasant experience with the Mamiya what's the name? The Agfa Isolate 120 camera, which is in my previous video. I documented that experience as well, so you can watch that as well. So that was a bit of a dampener on my hopes to transition into 120, and my goal in transitioning to 120 is because I have a dream to set up a home studio, a film studio, and I'm going to talk about that in another video. I'm going to talk about why I'm actually doing that in these times when everybody is moving away from film. It seems counterintuitive, but it's actually quite smart when I share why I'm doing it. So I've been dabbling in this, but today I started from yesterday. I got the experience with shooting 120 on this film for the first time, on this camera, sorry, film camera for the first time, and I absolutely loved it. And there's so much to love about this camera, and there are just a few things that I wish could be done a little better, but I love this camera, and I'm just gonna go through some of the things without talking too much. Okay, where do I start? Okay, maybe I'll start with the negatives. Okay, so loading the film, it's quite simple, but it can be a bit cumbersome. I don't think it's I think this camera makes it as easy as possible. It's not technically a fault of the camera itself, but it's just the 120 film format is not as easy to load as a 35mm, you know, that's in a can and you just pop it in and stretch it to the mark, and most times the cameras just take them all up and you're good to go. 120 is a bit different because of the back end, and you cannot do that in direct sunlight. You can't take it out in direct sunlight. You have to probably have a dim area to take out your film and to put the film back in. Now, if you haven't watched my video on unloading and loading this film camera, please do check it out as well. But I love that. The beauty about this camera is that unlike the other models of the 645, Mamiya 645 camera, this one has the shutter speed can go all the way up to 1000. Okay? Let me focus in? And it's such a wonderful thing. It's such a wonderful thing. I especially love this viewfinder module on top here. Unlike the waist, I don't know what exactly it's called, but this one I actually have to look through, and I think it's brilliant. I think it's brilliant because I'm used to 35mm cameras, and this is a really nice transition into medium format for me, because I still have to look the same way, and when I'm shooting I still get to adjust it. I'm used to this position, and the camera, first of all, it's not next thing is the camera is not too big, you know. It is, for a medium format camera compared to the Mamiya RZ67, this is actually not too imposing, you know. I have big hands, but it literally fits my hand quite nicely. And so when I'm out there on the streets, I'm not imposing or I'm not intimidating people. I think that doing street photography with this, the form factor, it actually looks also like a video camera. So when I'm actually out there trying to take photos, people might think, oh, I'm taking videos, and I don't look too out of the ordinary. But it's a beautiful thing. My camera is missing the crank, but it's not a big deal because I'm still able to crank this. Okay, so this is a quick overview, right? I love the fact that you can do multiple exposures on this camera, and that would be this button here. Now, if you put it on the multi, your film basically will not advance, right? It will not advance. It will just keep on taking multiple exposures, just like that. And also, this feature here is quite beautiful. I love it because what this has here is that when you push this button down here, you actually lift up the mirror, and this is especially useful in low light situations when you have to expose for few seconds, long exposure, night photography, for example. And the reason is that when the mirror is up, when the mirror lock is activated, excuse me, what the advantage is that you won't have the shake from the movement of the mirror because it's an SLR. When you click the shutter, the mirror actually moves up then the shutter is exposed, right? Opens up. Excuse me. But when the mirror lock is activated, you don't have that extra movement, which can cause a vibration, and in long exposures that could actually blur the image. So that is an advantage, another advantage that this camera has. I have a beautiful lens on this thing. This is one of the fastest, if not the fastest lens of its format. Okay, and this would be, let me turn it this way so you can see. It's a f1.9, 80 millimeters f1.9, and that is so fast. You know, last night I went out to take some photos with this camera, and the beautiful thing about this is that even in low light situations, I was still able to get like 4 seconds exposure, just because I could bring it down to f1.9 and get a decent, not too long of an exposure. If it was like f2.8, then I would have to bring it up to a few more seconds. So you're saving time, and you're also reducing the chances of getting a blurry image. Even in a low dim situation, you could, for example, yesterday I went out almost close to sunset. It was quite foggy, and I was still able to get shutter speeds of 1/30th of a second, and at that shutter speed you don't really need a tripod. I started using my tripod around 1/15th of a second, and that because from my experience I've noticed that the shake comes in at that point and you can actually notice the blur. So anything above 1/30th of a second, I don't use a tripod because I have pretty steady hands. So the advantage of such a low aperture really on this thing aperture number is that you get to expose this in dim light situations at a faster speed, hence why people say it is a fast lens. Now this feature here is the shutter lock mechanism, so you get to lock this in case you're traveling. But I don't understand why anyone would. Well, I do understand because I did it today. I guess I'm being hypocritical. Is when I was traveling in my car, because the scenes kept on changing and I kept on coming across these random scenes, I would cock this. I would cock this ready to fire, And so when I see a nice scene, I just stop on the side of the road and take it right there, so I don't have to cock it. But in order to prevent accidental firing of the shutter, you would move this and to the red, red aligns to the white here. So that's just that. The aperture dial is in a nice convenient spot over here, right? I like that, so I can easily flip that around. Then you have the range, the distance focus is right here on the lens, right? And that's really nice. If you want to set the timer, that's the knob for the timer right here. I don't really use it. I'm not sure even if mine works. So if you want to check the battery check is actually right there. So when I press this, it will tell me how much battery life I got. And the light comes on, that green light tells me that I'm still pretty good on my battery. So that's a very convenient feature. Depending on what attachment or module comes up here, well, I guess they all have the hot shoe attachment, which is good. The other thing I love is the position of these shutter buttons. This will take the shutter release cable, which I recommend if you're doing night photography, which is so awesome. I just loved it. Yesterday it was very convenient. And then over here is another shutter release button. So depending on how you're holding it, because sometimes you're holding it this way and you want to be able to fire with this finger over here or that, or it's a nice position, perfect position. But most times I find that I'm using this finger to fire, because I tend to hold mine, maybe show you like this. So when I'm looking, because I'm left-handed, so this is what feels comfortable for me, okay? So I hold it like this and I fire it with my left hand, this finger right there. And once I stabilize the shot, I'm able to just fire it just like that. For those who are right-handed, maybe you might find this to be more convenient, but I don't. But it's good to have that feature. So this has been a really quick overview of the Mamiya M645 camera. Like I said, this is such a pleasure to shoot with. I am really truly enjoying this camera. The view from this, the viewfinder, it's quite nice. Okay, so it's an SLR type format. So whatever you see is whatever the film it will be registering as well. So that is another convenient thing to have. I love this camera. I just simply love it. And if you have the ability to pick one up on eBay or any other online store or your local flea market, if you see this, you need to pick that up. It's a thing of beauty, and it's really awesome to shoot with. So I just want to thank you guys for joining me. This has been the review of quick review. I don't think I went into all the features, but a quick review of the Mamiya M645 1000S. If you like my videos or you enjoy watching my videos, please click the like button. I would really appreciate that. And if you can click the subscribe button as well, that would be so awesome. Thank you guys for joining me, and have a wonderful and a safe day. Okay, bye-bye.